YouTube, welcome back to the homestead. My name is Mike and I'm back with another cool video. And today we're going to be building this exact raised bed a little bit further down the line. I need to increase my growing space and I'm excited to show you guys how to do this step by step. So let's get right into this thing. So this is a raised bed that I built last season. This is 1 year old and it worked out phenomenally. We had a wonderful garden season last year, although we had to cut it a little bit short because of vacation time. It really was great. The only issue was we didn't have enough room to grow. Even with this bed, and the bed down there, we still could have grown more. We could have done more with the space that we have. So today, I'm gonna multiply that bed and I'm gonna be putting it right here in this empty space, right next to the chicken coop and between the blackberries. So, in order for me to replicate this bed with the exact dimensions, we need to know what the dimensions are. This bed here is a 12-foot by 4-foot bed, meaning it's 12 feet long and 4 feet wide, which is excellent for a growing garden bed because it gives me 2 feet to reach into the one side, and then I could come around and it gives me another 2 feet on this side to reach in. So I'm never having to extend myself or actually step in the bed. That's a big no-no for compaction reasons. So a 4-foot wide bed is perfect, and 12 foot is a nice length because it's easy to find the lumber and the dimensions from your local hardware store or big box store. All right, so just as a disclaimer, I am not a builder, I'm not a carpenter, I'm not a professional anything really. But what I am is a guy that has picked up some tips and tricks on YouTube and has some friends that are builders and learned how to be handy out of pure necessity because it's very expensive to have someone do this stuff for you. So hopefully I can translate some of the little tips and tricks that I've gotten over the years to you guys. And with that, I'd hope that you guys would hit that like button and consider subscribing. So anyway, back to what we're doing here. There's a couple tips and tricks when you're picking out your lumber from the supply yard, and that is, this is going to be very important. If you guys get anything from this video, this is it. You want to find straight boards. Now, just because it's on the shelf at Home Depot or Lowe's doesn't mean that it's ideal for building something. You have to do your due diligence. When you're picking your lumber and you're in the supply yard or the Home Depot, the Lowe's, wherever you get your lumber, you want to take your boards, and this works for pretty much everything that's like a 2x. So a 2x4, 2x6, 2x8, 2x12, whatever it is. You want to kind of put one corner down and line the other corner up with your eyes. So you're looking down range, you're looking down the board, and you're looking at the grain of the wood. By doing this, you'll be able to see if the wood is twisted or curved, or if it's perfectly straight or as close to perfect as you can get. What you want is straight wood, guys. Don't buy the stuff off the top just because it's convenient. Make sure you do this with every single board to make sure that it's straight. This will save you guys a lot of time, and I unfortunately had to learn this the hard way, so don't make my mistake. All right, so this is a great opportunity to go over the tools that we're going to be using to construct this bed. Now, there's not a whole lot involved, more skill, which I don't have, but we're going to do the best we can today. So, starting off, we have an impact drill, just a standard. This is a DeWalt impact drill, and what it does is it's going to send the screws into the wood. Pretty self-explanatory there. You need a tape measure. This is a 30-foot tape measure. You don't need that long, but one thing you do want to know is that it'll read down to the 16th inch or the 8th inch. We're going to be using the 8th, you know, but you want to get as precise as you can with your tape measure. This is called a speed square. Now, there's 100 different things you could use for this. Framers use this to build houses. I don't know all of the different uses for it, but it's going to give me a straight line. That's essentially what we're using it for, is when you're working with a speed square, you have a 2x4 or something alike, it's got this little lip on the edge and it catches the top of the 2x4, giving you a perfect plane to draw a line on, which brings us to the next tool, which is a pencil, just something that you can mark with. It could be a pen, it could be a pencil. I recommend a pencil, but just like that, it gives me a perfect line, a straight line that we could then use to cut a nice straight line. Now, what we're going to be using is 3-inch decking nails. Now, the reason we're using 3-inch is because a 2x4 is inch and a half thick. Hence the name 2x4. You know, it's 2 inches by 4 inches, but it's really half an inch thick. So, or an inch and a half thick. I'm sorry, guys. So, what that gives us is, if you could see, the threads of this screw here don't begin until it gets through that whole 2x4, so it really bites into the next one. So for example, if we were going in through this way on this one, you could see how deep it goes into that second 2x4, which really ties everything together and gives us a great bite, which is important because we want this thing to last a while. So 3-inch decking nails. Now we use decking nails because they're coated in this I don't know, some kind of a paint. Now that's supposed to stop corrosion and all that good stuff, but you know, you don't want to use like a sheetrock screw because those will corrode and then break down the line. So use something that's rated for outdoor use. Lastly, we have our chop saw. And now this is what we're going to use to obviously cut the wood. If you guys don't have one of these or you don't know how to use one of these, seek professional help. You know, this thing can be pretty dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So that's really it. That's all the tools we're going to be using. So let's get started. All right, so let's start off with prefabbing our lumber. So the reason we're going to prefab the lumber is so that we cut everything to the right dimensions, and then we can kind of just put it together like a big Lego set. So in order to do that, we got to get our saw ready. And what this little jig is just so that I can put the length of the boards down and not have them kind of wobble one way or the other as I try to cut them. So it just gives me like a little rest, an extra hand. I stabilized the saw. I kind of screwed it down to this board so that it doesn't move around as well. We want to get as precise cuts as we possibly can. So next we're just going to be, you know, getting the saw ready. This thing will slide back and forth, and let's make sure our power works. And it does. So we are ready to rock and roll now with the saw. Let's get to cutting some wood. Here's another cool little trick. So the edges, the ends of the wood from the factory cuts, they're garbage. These are not good, but they anticipate for that. And what they do is they give you an extra inch on the board so that you can cut the two edges, the two ends off. So this is supposed to be a 12-foot board. This is a 2x6. And as you can see, we are a whole inch longer than 12 feet. So what that means is we have enough room to take half an inch off of each side, giving us a nice clean cut edge to build with. And that's what we're going to do with all 6 of these boards. I guess that also leads me to the next thing. I didn't tell you guys the actual material list for this project. So the material itself is we're using 6 2x6 boards, and we're going to use 5 2x4 boards. Now, I got 6 2x4s just in case I make a mistake or if we need a little extra. It definitely doesn't hurt, especially if you're me, to have an extra piece of lumber laying around for mistakes. So I got 6 2x4s and I got 6 2x6s. And now, if you could see the bed right below there, I'm basically just stacking 2 2x6s up on the short side and stacking 2 2x6s up on the long side, and then trimming it all up with 2x4s to make it look nice and clean, and also give me a little like edge to lean on when I'm planting and working in the garden. All right, so I had to do a quick improvisation because, again, this little thing was to help me make sure that the board didn't tilt or wobble when I was cutting, but these 12-foot boards are just too long, so I had to make an improvisation here and go ahead and just build a little deck so that the end of the board can sit on it, and it's also level with the rest of the table here. So you know, you could get away with this if you have a helper, but I don't have a helper today, so this is what I'm going to use. Anyway, let's get to cutting. Okay, so we have our 12-foot boards, and you could already see it's starting to take shape. So we got these cut down, we cut the edges off, and looking down line here, this is actually a good example on what I'm trying to do. So you could see the far bed over there, you can see the bed right here. I want to put this bed in line with that far one, but on a slight angle, so it's parallel with the chicken coop here. I don't know if you guys can envision that, but you'll see it toward the end of the video. But as I cut the wood and the lumber, I'm going to be placing it where I want it. So I'm going to drag this back, do some measurements on the ground, and we're going to kind of mock this up on the floor. So let's do that. All right, so after some mapping out, here's where we stand. So something like right there. Now the idea is we want it to be center between the post right here for the door, and then the last post over here, which would be these 3 posts. That's the idea, so that it's even in between the chicken coop. But I think where it's sitting right now is kind of where we want it. So let's build the thing, and then we could always adjust it and move it a little bit here or there once it's constructed. I just don't want to have to drag this thing across the yard. You know what I mean? So let's get back to cutting. All right, next step, we're doing the cross sections now. So like we said, we're gonna do 4 foot. So we're gonna measure right at that 4 foot mark, and we're gonna cut there. And we need 4 of these as well. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's 4 foot. Right on the money there. Beautiful. Let's do that 3 more times. All right, I just wanted to show you guys what I'm doing when I'm kind of like eyeing up the blade here. So as you can see, there's the blade, right? That's the blade of it. And there's my line. And when I'm eyeing it up, you could see that the blade does have some thickness to it. And you want to make sure that you're going either on one side of the line or the other, because the blade will cut, you know, about the thickness of that line there, and that's going to account in your measurements. So I'm kind of shimmying it back and forth, making sure we're square and flush with the saw, and then I'm checking right there, and I'm kind of rolling the blade along just to make sure that we're right on the line there, or a little bit to the left of the line, so that we don't cut 1/8 of an inch short because we didn't account for the blade. So I don't know if you guys can see that. That's what I'm doing. I'm kind of rolling the blade, making sure that my blade is touching my line before I cut it. And now this is ready to cut. So when you account for the blade like that, when you go and measure after your cut, you'll be right on target, and you won't be a little bit short on your measurement there. So that's right on the 4 foot mark, which is exactly what we want. All right, really cool stuff. So there's our structure right there. We have our 12 foot sections and our 4 foot sections, and we have 2 of each, so they'll stack up nice, just like this one here. If you guys can see, that's how we're doing it. So you got 1 2x6, 2 2x6, and this is the 4 foot side, and then that's the 12 foot side. So now, just like this one here, we got to cut up our 2x4s, our trim. So same rule applies. We're going to be kind of nipping off a 1/2 inch of this here so we get a nice clean cut. Guys, if you like this build so far, hit the thumbs up. It really helps the channel. Consider subscribing if you want to see more projects from me. I do everything from growing fruits and vegetables to building things to moving compost. It's a homestead. It's a functioning homestead, and we do everything that entails homesteading. So hit the subscribe button. And also leave a comment down below if you see things that I'm doing wrong, if I should improve on, or if you just want to ask me a question. You know, I'm open to all suggestions. I am not perfect and I am not a builder, so I appreciate all feedback. Just be kind. I'll see you guys in the comment section. Let's get right back into this build. All right, so now it's time to cut the short trim, and using our template here, our existing bed, we'll go ahead and we'll snip that there. We'll come here and we'll look at this measurement, and we are at 53 1/8. All right, so the final part of the prefab is we're gonna cut 12 of these little trim pieces. These are 11.5 inches, 2x4s. So I definitely got too many 2x4s, which is okay. You know, no big deal. I told you guys from the beginning, I wanted to have an extra little bit in case I made a mistake. But as far as I could tell right now, no mistakes were made. We're doing pretty well. We're using 100% of our 2x4s, our material, and we're gonna even use these little bits of trim. So stick around to the end. I'll show you guys what we do with that. But we need 12 11.5 pieces. So, and that'll complete the prefab. We can put this thing together finally. So let's get to cutting. Can you guys tell me which one isn't like the rest? Uh-oh, I think I might have made a mistake. A little, I think I might have measured this one at 11, so, and not 11.5. So let's recut that one. Let's get a new one going. We could still use that though, I promise. All right, so we're finally at the point where we can assemble this thing. We've done all the measuring, all the cutting, crossing our fingers that my measurements were right and that this thing goes together as smooth as the other ones went together. But I think we did a good job. Very minimal waste. We have a couple pieces that we kind of screwed up, but we're still going to use them, and I'll show you how. So first, let's put this thing together. Let's screw it all together, and I'll show you how I do that. Okay, so measuring out now, let's just make sure that we did the right thing. So with all of our cuts, I just want to run it kind of like a mock run here before we start screwing everything in. I know that I'm supposed to be on the inside like this. My 4 foot section is on the inside of my 12 foot sections. Now what that's going to give me, let's just make sure we're right on the back side here so that everything is square and lines up correctly. That's going to line us up good enough. And again, this is just eyeing it all up. We're just eyeing it up here. And now, okay, you see that, guys? That's gonna fit just right with everything spaced in. I'm happy with that. So let's start screwing all this stuff together now. right, that's the first tier built. Let's build the next tier. We're gonna build it right here, and then we're gonna stack them up. So let's get there. All right, so now for the fun part, we're gonna try to lift this up and set it down on top of this guy here. Let's see if we can lift it. Oh boy, man, it's got some weight. There we go. Yeah, something like that, right? All right, so everything matches up. It's just hard to get it exactly right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna reinforce each corner now, kind of tie everything together. So with these 11.5-inch 2x4s that we cut. So that's what these were for, is to kind of tie everything together. All right, so I'm sure you guys can see what I'm talking about now with these 2x4s. So we're gonna be putting one like this, and then the other one's gonna come in like that. It's really gonna reinforce this corner here from a lot of the weight and pressure that when we have all this soil inside that wants to push out. And it's just gonna, it trims it up, it makes it look nicer and gives it some reinforcement. So let's go ahead and do that. We're matching the other bed exactly in the pattern that we're doing. So these will go in like this. And this is also going to, I actually went a little low there, I'll bring it back up. But this is also gonna tie together these two beds, which is gonna, you know, cause, it's just reinforcing it from top to bottom and side to side. Beautiful. All right, that's a nice corner. All right, that's squared up pretty nicely. All my measurements were correct. All my cuts were good, no issues. Corners all match up, and now we're gonna do the top trim. Show you guys what we're seeing. So I just shot this top piece in. This is gonna be my guideline, but we're not gonna do the rest of it yet. We're gonna put our side pieces on, and that looks good. I just had to make sure that these were all gonna line up properly, and they certainly will. So now is for the fun part. We're gonna do the part that I wanted to show you guys why those little scrap pieces over there were important to save. We're gonna put them on the inside and actually tie the inside together with some 2x4 so that the whole thing doesn't bow out. Okay, so it's not critical where we do this. We just wanna measure from the inside to the inside, and we are getting 47 and a quarter is tight, very tight. So let's do 47 1/8. Okay, so you see that? I just cut those 47 1/8, and I just slid them in, and they're pretty tight. But so now you see what I'm doing is I'm splitting the difference. I'm splitting the difference right here so that we're catching both of these boards, both of the 2x6 boards, and I'm doing it on either side. Now what this is gonna do is it's gonna prevent the raised bed garden from bowing out. It's gonna hold it together. Now, I don't wanna shoot screws in this side just because I don't really wanna see that. So what I'm gonna do is take these scrap pieces right here, and I'm going to essentially put them on the inside like this, and then screw them in from the inside so all this gets covered with dirt. Something like that. And now we can come on the inside here, and we're kind of screwing to this nailer right here that we just put in. That catches both the 2x6s, and that makes this thing rock solid, guys. Rock solid. No amount of outward pressure is now going to pull this apart because we're screwed in on two different planes, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do the same on this side, and then I'm going to do the same over there on that side, and this will be all shored up. All right, and it's just like that. You see, we have some ribs now. We're just going to screw this in, just like we did over there. We are taking full shape here, and I'm very excited about this. So next step is, let's get the 2x4 rails, these long pieces, let's get them in position. And now you guys can kind of see why I put those rib pieces on the sides, because now we'll catch it here, here, and here. And that's that was the whole point of doing all that, but we do want to make sure that everything's lining up properly. All right, so we are all fitted here. Okay. We look like we're all fitted here. Everything's lining up just the way we measured, which is great. Beautiful, beautiful. Uh-oh, that doesn't look right. Oh boy. So we run into a bit of an issue. I must have mismeasured or miscalculated somewhere in the prefab phase, because we're missing like 4 inches off of this. So let me think. There's a way around this that doesn't involve going back to the store. Let me show you. All right, just to show you. So we're tight and we're flush against this end here, but coming down the stream here, we're looking at this much of a gap. So I must have miscalculated, mismeasured somewhere, got confused with the numbers. I did get some phone calls while I was filming all this, and I was on the phone when I was doing my cuts. So that right there is, don't answer the phone when you're making measurements. Anyway, I think I know what we could do. Let's use our heads here. Let's figure this out. So we have the error that we made here. We're missing a little bit on the edge here. We have this piece of 2x4 that's scrap. This was just a cut, little extra bit, and then we obviously have our brand new 2x4 that I didn't want to touch. I didn't want to cut into that. That one was supposed to be unused, just extra for a big mistake. But this isn't a big mistake. It's a little tiny mistake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this board right here. I just drew the line, and the reason I'm going to cut this 2x4 here is so that we can get 2 screws into this, which will hold this side down, and then we're going to use that piece over there to then put on this side and finish the distance. And then this way I can get 2 screws here and then 2 screws there, so that this board doesn't warp and twist with sunlight and weather and winter and all that good stuff. So that's the idea, and there's no telling that this gap that's going to be here isn't going to warp. Let me show you what it might look like in the future. So here we are, we're at the existing bed, and now this gap right here, this was super tight and flush, just like all the others. And here's another one right there. There's a gap right there. You see, this is just from the wood expanding and contracting and the sun beating it for 1 year. So this is what I'm up against, and this might be what I'm looking at for the rest of this bed's life over here. But the reason being is I really didn't want to have to go back to the store or cut into another 2x4. I want to just get this done with the material that we're using. So Anyway, I think I'll be able to live with a little gap here if it ever does come, but I'll try to make this as tight as possible. Let's go over to the saw and let's cut this. All right, let's see how we did here. Let's put this into place. Oh boy, I don't think that's I don't think I can get any tighter than that. I'm pretty happy with that. That's in there really good. So let's get some screws down in that, and hopefully it doesn't warp too much over there, but it very well might. And if it does, I'm expected for that. So let's get some screws down. All right, guys, that's the build. There it is. We're done with this. So the construction's complete. You could see what it looks like with the ribs in the middle to hold everything together. I did the same exact design with the 2x4 borders and the legs on the ends. This thing is rock solid. I think it's gonna let us grow food for many, many years. So the next step here is to fill it up with actually chicken compost. I'm gonna plan on digging the whole chicken coop out and then filling it into here. So that'll be the next step. But in terms of today and this project, this one's done. So I will catch you guys on the next video. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. I know I said it before, but now that you saw it come together and it's all complete, I'm not the best construction guy, I'm not the best builder, but I can get by, and I hope that I taught you guys something that you didn't know maybe. So hit the thumbs up if I did, hit the thumbs up if I didn't, and let me know why down in the comments. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.